Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Glad to be here.
So today, we're zeroing in on a really specific time and place. Greenwich Village, New York City, back in the 1960s.
The folk revival, a fascinating period.
Exactly. Our source today is an excerpt called The Folk Revival, uncovering the magic of Greenwich Village in the 1960s.
Okay.
And our mission really is to unpack why. Why did this, relatively small neighborhood become such a massive hub for this musical revolution?
A revolution with real lasting cultural and political ripples, too.
Definitely. We want to look at the key players, the whole atmosphere of the time, and how the music really connected with everything else happening in society.
It's quite a story. When you think about the village, then, it's easy to picture sort of the cobblestone streets, that bohemian air.
Yeah, totally. A real haven for artists, writers, thinkers,
Hmm.
people pushing boundaries.
And against that backdrop, you get this incredible flourishing of folk music.
So who are the first names that pop into your head when you think of this scene? The real icons.
Well, you almost have to start with Bob Dylan, right? And Joan Baez, Pete Seeger. They're kind of the big three in many ways.
Absolutely. Each one brought something so distinct, Dylan, with those lyrics. Just incredible depth.
Incredible. He really elevated the songwriting, didn't he? Took folk poetry to a whole new level. Grappling with complex ideas, challenging norms. It felt different.
It really did resonate. And Baez, that voice, so pure, so powerful.
Just unmistakable. And
Yeah.
she became such a symbol, especially for peace, for activism. Her voice carried that conviction.
She wasn't just singing, she was standing for something.
Right. And then Pete Seeger, he was already kind of the elder statesman, a direct link to earlier folk traditions.
The storyteller, the activist, keeping that community spirit alive.
Exactly. He had that deep respect for the roots, but was always, pushing for social justice through the music. He helped bring it into the mainstream consciousness.
It's interesting, though. Where did this all happen? It wasn't concert halls at first, was it?
Oh, no, not at all. It was the coffee houses, the small clubs, places like the Bitter End, Café Wa. They were legendary.
So these tiny venues were the launching pads.
Totally. They were more than just stages. They were like incubators. You'd have musicians trying out new songs, jamming together, influencing each other constantly.
That close proximity must have been intense. Artist and audience right there together.
Yeah, that intimacy was crucial. It created this real synergy, this immediate feedback loop. You felt part of something happening right in front of you. It fostered collaboration.
So it sounds like these weren't just places to hang out and hear music. There was something bigger going on.
Well, yeah, you have to remember the context. This is the era of the civil rights movement really taking hold, growing opposition to the Vietnam War. Big societal shifts.
And the music plugged right into that, didn't it?
Inextricably. That's where the folk revival's impact really goes beyond just the tunes. It wasn't just nostalgia. It was using those folk forms to speak now.
Can you give an example?
Well, think about Blowin' in the Wind. Those questions. It just tapped right into the feeling of the times, that uncertainty, that searching for answers.
Yeah, it wasn't giving answers. It was asking the questions everyone was grappling with.
Exactly. And a song like We Shall Overcome. It became this powerful, unifying anthem, didn't it? For the civil rights movement, especially.
These songs had real weight. They weren't just background noise.
Not at all. They were rallying cries. They empowered people. It shows how art and activism can be, deeply intertwined.
So pulling it together then.
Yeah.
Greenwich Village in the 60s, you've got this unique bohemian atmosphere drawing in talent like Dylan, Baez, Seeger.
Right.
They find their footing in these intimate clubs, connecting directly with audiences.
Building that community feel.
And crucially, their music becomes this powerful voice reflecting and maybe even shaping the huge social and political changes happening.
Precisely. It wasn't just music. It felt vital. It was this blend of respecting tradition, but also challenging everything.
That tension is really interesting. Tradition versus pushing forward.
Yeah, that dynamic is what made it so potent, I think. Respect for the past, but using it to talk about the present and future.
Okay, so speaking of pushing forward and maybe challenging tradition,
Yeah.
our source mentioned something pretty controversial at the time. Dylan going electric.
Yes. The Newport Folk Festival, 1965. A moment that really sent shockwaves, didn't it?
You can imagine, here's this icon of acoustic folk and he plugs in an electric guitar. People were apparently furious.
Oh, definitely. For the purists, the ones deeply invested in that acoustic sound, it felt like, well, like a betrayal almost, a selling out perhaps.
That's a strong reaction. But looking back now,
Looking back, it seems more like a boundary-pushing moment. It was incredibly bold,
yeah.
and ultimately, it really broadened the horizons of what folk music could be.
So less a betrayal, more an evolution.
I think so. It showed the genre wasn't stuck in time. It could absorb new influences, rock and roll sounds, and reach even more people. It challenged the definition.
It kind of forced the scene to confront its own identity, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Is folk just about acoustic guitars and traditional songs, or is it about the message, the spirit, regardless of the instrumentation?
That makes sense.
Uh,
And the legacy of that whole era, not just the electric moment, but the whole village scene,
mm,
it feels massive.
It really is. These artists, they sort of set a precedent, didn't they? They showed generations to come that music could be more than entertainment. It could be a platform.
A tool for commentary, for activism, for expressing dissent or hope.
Exactly. That connection between music and social consciousness, which felt so strong in the village then, continues to inspire artists today.
So the big takeaway here seems to be that the Greenwich Village Folk Revival wasn't just a collection of great songs or talented musicians.
No, it was much more. It was about community, creativity, a certain kind of courage to speak out, all converging in one place at one time.
A perfect storm almost.
Kind of. And it really highlights that enduring relationship between music and the society it springs from.
Yeah.
They reflect and influence each other constantly.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it? As we wrap up this deep dive, are there places like that now, underground scenes, maybe online communities, where that same kind of potent mix is brewing?
That's the fascinating question, isn't it? What contemporary movements, musical or otherwise, might be having that kind of profound impact under the radar right now, ready to shape the future?
Something to think about. The story of Greenwich Village certainly gives us a powerful example of how it can happen. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.
My pleasure.